Ever feel like you've got some gumption toward a goal, you're moving toward it, and you fall off the horse, or you just lose motivation, or life gets in the way? I think this video has the ability to create a transformative perspective shift in how to keep yourself motivated to achieve your goals. I'm Chad Littlefield, and in this video, I'm gonna unpack 3 personal experiences that I've bumped up against that I think you can ruthlessly steal and reinterpret to apply into your own context, to get motivated and to navigate the natural cadence and ups and downs in motivation. Buckle up, get comfy, you're gonna wanna stick around for the whole thing. Let's get into it. All right, this video is gonna dive into, I'm gonna share 3 personal reflections that have been extremely valuable to me. I'm gonna unpack a pretty deep philosophical take on depression, and I'm gonna wrap up with what I believe to be the true meaning of choice or free will. Learning from my first personal reflection, don't motivate yourself. It seems ironic considering the title of this video, but don't motivate yourself. There is so much research and science that says we tend to be socially motivated. It's one of the reasons that I push and I'm intrigued by and have seen the power in connection before content. Right? When you find out that a friend is doing a triathlon, you're much more likely to do a triathlon than if you were on your own. Done some really interesting studies where they just observe runners, just running around neighborhood, and runners pick up their speed when they run in downtown areas or where there's people watching. Total strangers, right? Never gonna talk to this person ever. You're just running by, and yet we're socially motivated enough to look good, be better, etc., that we run faster around others. And I think that using that as a metaphor or a meme for motivation in general. I used to try to muster up all my willpower and say, come on, come on, come on, come on, you can do it, you can do it, you can do it. And now I realize I only need to muster up enough willpower to put myself in the position to be socially motivated. And so I used to try to go to the YMCA to swim every morning on my own. Sometimes I'd go, sometimes I wouldn't. I joined the old people swim team in Pittsburgh, and now I'm a lot more motivated. I wake up at 5:15 in the morning and go swim because I know there's a bunch of other people there, and I swim 2 or 3, 4 times as much as I would if I went on my own because everybody else is doing it. Not because I'm constantly having to motivate myself to go one more lap, one more yard, right? And so reframe the amount of work that you have to do as just doing the pre-planning, pre-thinking to put yourself into position, to surround yourself by the people that will motivate you to achieve your goals. Second learning from personal reflection is to invest in yourself to create peak experiences or moments. There are certain things in my life that motivate me for a bit. And then there are other things in life that motivate me on a sustained spectrum ongoing. So an example for me, several years ago, I found this community in this school out of Australia called Thought Leaders Business School. And so if you're an independent coach, author, speaker, trainer, facilitator, etc. The creators of the school, Matt Church and Peter Cook, have written a book called Thought Leaders Practice. It's an amazing community of people running really high-level, successful practices that are experts in their own right? So there's somebody who's a master of creativity. There's just somebody who's a master of human performance. There's somebody who focuses all of their time and effort on making connection and engagement easy. And being around that group is really motivating. It's also really inspiring because I get ideas. It's also really practical. And so finding that community. And so it's not about me finding the motivation to sustain that energy to build a practice and a business and grow we and me into a better organization on my own. All I have to do is find the community to cling to and travel along the journey with. Because I know that in a group of 150 really brilliant people, there's gonna be somebody saying, posting, sharing something, some session happening that's gonna offer that spike in motivation. When you invest in yourself to create peak experiences, it's also kind of like inserting lights at the end of particularly dark tunnels. So I lived in Asheville, North Carolina for 5 years. My blood got very warm there. And when I moved to Pittsburgh to be a little closer to my wife's family and a closer flight to my family, winter. Ooh. And so for me, investing in myself to create that peak experience, I want to be deliberate about planning a trip to somewhere warm in the middle of February, the coldest and darkest month, Because for me, it's motivating to know that that's on the horizon. So that goes away from the social motivation part. But for me, if you know you're gonna lose motivation because the tunnel is long and you can't see the end of it, bring something into the middle of the tunnel that you're looking forward to reaching. Create checkpoints for yourself along the way. Seriously, go do that. Maybe like even pause and write something down. In fact, one of the things that I really took from, and many leaders do this, but the one that I learned it from originally was Jeff Bezos, founder of Amazon. He's like accomplished a decent bit. You have to be semi-motivated to build a store that contains the Earth's largest selection of stuff, right? So no matter what your feelings are on Amazon, they've been motivated to accomplish quite a few of their objectives, quite a few of their goals. And one of the things I heard him say once was, at this point in the company, my only job is to make 3 good decisions each day, right? In an 8-hour workday, all I want to do is make 3 really good decisions. And for me, I'm not running Amazon. And so I've got this moleskin notebook that when I have my head screwed on straight, which isn't all the time, I wake up in the morning, I go, and even if I sit down and close my eyes for 10 seconds or 12 minutes, just a little bit of pause, and then I go to that moleskin notebook and I write down the 3 things that I think will have the highest impact that day, that will make the world or my world or our world a little bit better that day, either for me or for clients, for we and me, etc. And if I get those 3 things done, I'm happy. My inbox is probably overflowing. I probably didn't get to respond to everybody that I intended to, but I've got those 3 prioritized things, and that's really helpful. I don't do that every day, but I know that if I want to work toward a goal, when I'm doing that consistently, it makes a really massive difference. So I'm like way far from perfect on the motivation spectrum. In fact, I've noticed in myself along my own entrepreneurial journey, this sort of curve, this wave of, I had a clinical psychology professor talk about how every disorder is on a spectrum, right? So you might not be diagnosed with OCD, but if I took a dirty diaper and held it up in your face, you probably wouldn't want it there, right? So we're all in this spectrum of cleanliness or particularities or depression or mania, etc. And so I noticed that there are times where I could just listen to EDM and work for 19 hours. And then there are times where I just cannot work in that particular moment. And so if you have the option to advocate for yourself and build in some flexibility in the hours that you work and lean into those waves rather than constantly fighting them, can be really useful. This philosophical take on depression came from Jim Carrey, so I'm going to let him describe it rather than me.
And depression is your body saying, "F you, I don't want to be this character anymore. I don't want to hold up this avatar that you've created in the world. It's too much for me." Right. And so a friend of mine who's a spiritual teacher has a really good take. His name is Jeff Foster, and his take on it is that they should change. You should think of the word of depressed as deep rest. Deep rest. Your body needs to be depressed. It needs deep rest from the character that you've been trying to play.
Right. By no means am I or Jim Carrey an authority on depression, clinical depression, etc. And so take this purely as an entertaining pondering to reframe your own depression. This is not an advice video for how to handle clinical depression. It's an idea and perhaps a reframing of the times when you don't feel motivated. Maybe that's your body saying it's time to take some deep rest rather than call yourself depressed. I know I promised a lot in this video by sharing a philosophical underpinning of depression and then also defining choice and free will. But here we go. Will Wise, my co-founder, came back from this Mastery Leadership Academy in Ireland several years ago. And he came back and he brought a very annoying exercise to my table. And he sat me down and he said, Will, what'd you learn? What'd you get? What were some of your insights? And he goes, chocolate or vanilla? It's like, chocolate. Why'd you choose chocolate? It was sweeter. Chocolate's my favorite flavor. Chocolate or vanilla? Chocolate. Why'd you choose chocolate? Because it's my favorite flavor. This went on for 20 minutes. I'm not gonna let this go on for 20 minutes for you. Ultimately, so I gave all sorts of reasons, right? I chose chocolate because I want to, because it's the best flavor, because it stains clothing more, right? Come up with all sorts of reasons. Eventually, I got so fed up with the exercise, he said, chocolate or vanilla? And I said, chocolate. He said, why did you choose chocolate? And I said, because I chose chocolate. And he was like, ah. I chose chocolate purely because I chose it. I chose to marry Kate, not because she's super smart, super funny, spontaneous, lovely, caring, compassionate. I chose to marry Kate because that is the choice that I made. Choice doesn't need reasons or rationale, because those reasons and rationale change, right? Kate is gonna change throughout life. What doesn't need to change is my conviction about a choice that I made. And so how does this relate to motivation and achieving your goals? For me, before you even start trying to motivate yourself to accomplish a goal, my question to you that I would love to leave you with is, have you chosen that goal? Will went on to unpack a little bit about the difference between choice versus decision, right? Where when you decide things, decide sounds a lot like pesticide, herbicide, genocide, etc. You're killing off, cutting away, taking away. So when you make a decision to pursue a goal, you're saying, well, I don't want to do this other stuff, so I'm going to do this. When you make a choice to pursue a goal, I chose this because I chose it. And when you make a choice with that much conviction, you might not need to pat yourself on the back nearly as much as when you're involved or you dive into something that you're like, kinda wanna care about accomplishing, but not really. Lovely spending some deep time with you here. If you wanna stay in touch, check out the link wein.me/free. I've got a ton of free resources, and I send out one video every week to stimulate the brain, perhaps give a little tap to the heart, and help you make connection and engagement easier as a leader or an educator. Have an awesome day.